Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend.
That I will support and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
The last piece that we're going to be talking about in this process, so you've set up your environment, you made yourself uber professional on LinkedIn and then also in your Zoom space. Then you've gone out, you've done the research on industries, companies, and people that you want to learn more about or who you want to talk to. Then you have reached out to those people, either through a cold contact or a warm introduction. And then you have prepared for that conversation through a variety of different means. And then main event, boom, talk to them. And it was great. It went fantastic. You were inspirational. They were inspirational. Everyone was inspirational. It was amazing. And now we're on the back end of that conversation. You've logged off of Zoom. Now it's time for follow-up actions that we believe are very important every single time you talk to somebody. The first one of those things is going to be some kind of conversation document, which we talked about a little bit. Personally, my method was I had a giant Excel spreadsheet that had the person, what they did, who they did it for, the day that we talked, all of the notes on that conversation, a specific row that said, do I want to talk to this person again? Or have we agreed to talk again? And then I had follow-up notes after that so that if I did talk to them again, I knew what to reference, what our commonalities were, what they asked me to do, what I asked them to do, all sorts of information all in one convenient spot. And it was very useful. So keep good notes, archive those notes in some centralized place. Do that right after your conversation, and so that everything is fresh in your mind. The next thing is a follow-up message or a follow-up email to the individual you just spoke to. And the primary reason you're doing this is to say thank you. Again, gratitude goes a long way, and the thank you note is really a dying art, honestly. And people remember when someone takes the time to reach out and say thank you so much for taking the time to guide me, instruct me, mentor me on these things. But there is another piece to the thank you note that is just as important. This is really your chance to reinforce any of the asks that were discussed during your meeting with that individual. So at this point, you could say, Wayne, thank you so much for your time. I'm very grateful that you took 30 minutes out of your day to mentor me on transitioning out of the military. I also wanted to thank you for agreeing to introduce me to John and Jeff. I'm super excited to be able to talk to them later in the future. Cheers, Billy. What I'm doing there, up top, super grateful, gratitude for days, thanking Wayne for his time. The next piece is I am reminding Wayne that he agreed to introduce me to those two individuals. So hopefully he does that. And it's a nice, very respectful way of getting what you want without jerk.
Hey, don't you remember you said you'd do this?
Yes, 100%.
Right? And because remember, again, you are commanding the conversation, you're leading the conversation, and you're leading it for them. You're making it as easy as possible for them. They sit back, relax, and they get to talk about themselves. And so now in this follow-up email, Riley's really said, it's a to-do list. But it's a to-do list done as a kind reminder of the commitments that everyone agreed to. And it's very helpful in their inbox, and they're jumping from meeting to meeting. And so that's a critical piece of it. Look, the thank you note doesn't need to be long. It doesn't need to be a poetic story or brief to them about how grateful you are and the rest, but it's about taking the time. They took the time for you, now take the time for them. Send the thank you note, the kind reminder of what they had offered to do with gratitude for that, and then thanks, or look, and then you can also sign off with, keeping the door unlocked, right? Looking forward to staying in touch. Please let me know if there's anything I can do for you. And so as we think of this follow-up piece and the closeout of your conversation, please let me know if there's anything I can do for you. When people are very giving of their time and they're the ones giving and helping, it can be a shock. If in the conversation you're closing out, you're about to be done, hey, before we end, you've been helpful for me. Is there anything that I can do for you? And most often they're surprised, like, oh, no, nothing at all. But they recognize that now I'm communicating with someone who wants to reciprocate and wants to be helpful and wants to give back also. And so
it's going to sound super funny when you do that for the first time and you're talking to a CEO. Just remember that.
Yeah, you're talking to a CEO. Hey, you've been very helpful to me. Is there anything I can do for you? And there's not. But what matters is that you asked, that you offered, and that you wanted to give back to them because you recognize how much they gave to you. So do that at the end of the conversation, but then certainly also have that in your follow-up email. So it's this email, this follow-up note is cloaked and just covered in gratitude, not over so and like silly, but very clear gratitude, a clear reminder of what the commitments were of parties. You leave the door unlocked, and then you offer the return of the favor.
And the last piece here is sometimes people forget, people are busy, and the person who has agreed to do something for you will drop the ball. Use these same elements in this follow-up message if you are and should reach out to them to remind them, because most people, if you do it respectfully and you do it and you're not super persistent, like you're not like next day, like, hey, you didn't introduce these people, what's up with that? Like in a week or 2 weeks, I hope you're doing well. I just want to thank you again for taking the time 2 weeks ago to talk to me. It was really fantastic, and the information you gave me has really helped me on my journey of discovery. I was just wondering if you had time to reach out to the 2 individuals that you wanted to introduce me to. But if not, I totally understand. You're a busy person, and please let me know if there's anything I can do to be of assistance. Cheers, Billy. And so I'm following up again, and another piece of my conversation document that I kept is if there were follow-ups, I set reminders basically 2 weeks out to say, hey, homie dropped the ball, reach out to them, and then I could look at my doc and say, oh yeah, they agreed to introduce me to blank person. So then I could have context when I was writing that follow-up, or I guess the follow-up to the follow-up. And that's really helpful, but it's the same elements, gratitude, not demanding, and it does help them. And most people are grateful for that reminder because they just forget. Like they're not just like, forget them, and then they don't do it. They're just busy people. So
that's the full circle.
Yeah, that's
right?
it.
So with the ending and the follow-up, you can see how that loops all the way back to the beginning.
Yep.
And having a new conversation with a new individual. And so use this process to work through the contacting phase of the discovery funnel and working through the different segments that we've discussed.
Yeah. And this is the final piece to tie it all together. This is the glue. When you're in the why section, people can help you with that. People can help you with the what, they can help you with the who, and they can help you with the how. And this allows you to find people and have great conversation with them all the way down. And this is really the engine that keeps it all going. And we hope that it benefits you. So everybody, that's the discovery funnel. We've gone through why, understanding yourself. Then we talked about what you possibly could do in this next chapter of your life. Then we discussed who you might do that thing for. And then finally, we talked about how you might access that specific opportunity through a variety of means. And then the engine that moves you through this entire discovery funnel, we talked about how to find people, connect with them, conversate with them, and continue moving through that flywheel over and over again. We've given you an entire framework that we hope will benefit you here in the future.
So you've had the opportunity to serve your country, you've had the opportunity to serve in different ways, or you're taking this because you're going into a new chapter of your life. Everything that you need to be successful, you have. We're confident that you have the tools to put together the aspects of the discovery funnel. You have what it takes. You have a great capability that can be applied to a wonderful future that's ahead of you. From the two of us, you've got this, and best of luck.
We'll see you guys on the other side.